The words "I have a dream," we all know, were spoken by the great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., but did you know how much influence the poet Langston Hughes had on his speeches?
Well, author Dr. Jason Miller from the Department of English at NC State talks about their relationship in his book called Origins of the Dream, Hughes' Poetry and King's Rhetoric. He joins us now to tell us all about it. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, we're so glad to have you here. So I'm curious. I know that Hughes died less than a year before King's assassination, as you write, but you say that Martin Luther King's dream can be traced directly to the poetry of Langston Hughes. Is that right?
Yes, it's fascinating. And this goes all the way back to 1959, actually, because of the popularity of the play A Raisin in the Sun.
Oh, I love that
Hughes
play.
wrote about dreams his whole life. He said, what happens to a dream deferred? But he also said, hold fast to dreams. And he said, I dream a world. And Dr. King was first attracted to the negative aspects of dreams in 1959. The long process of how he came to use that as an inspirational force actually has its ties right here to North Carolina. The first time he ever used the phrase, I have a dream, was right here in North Carolina.
Really? Where?
And it's in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, November 27th. And it's fascinating because this speech has a direct link to how he was earlier using Hughes' poem, I Dream a World.
Wow.
What drew you to do this kind of research?
Well, it started out one day. There'd been a long kind of history of people in Hughes scholarship saying, I think there might be a connection. I think there might be a connection. And I went up to the library and I looked at the first book one day and I saw a speech from 1967 which Dr. King said, I am personally the victim of deferred dreams. And when he said deferred dreams, I knew that he knew Hughes' poetry and was using it. And so that started a 7-year journey that took me to Boston, Atlanta, several times to do research in the archives. And looking at Dr. King's speeches, holding them in my hands are fascinating. You know, he begins this speech at Rocky Mount talking about the flight he had from Atlanta. And he said, I don't want you all to be worried, but I was a little scared in the air. I don't want you to think that I don't have confidence in God in the air. It's just I have more experience with him on the ground.
That's awesome.
So Dr. King knew how to work a room.
Had a sense of humor.
Did it take, I'm curious, all this research you had to do, what did, books, novels, where did you have
the
to
most
go?
interesting aspect is I got to look at Dr. King's actual handwriting in his papers and his books, and I looked at the notes he made and the poems he looked at, and it's fascinating because when you look at these documents, you actually wear white gloves and handle them extremely carefully. But you can see documents right around the time of this Rocky Mount speech where Dr. King is writing in his own hand, and he writes this line, we as a people have long dreamed of freedom, and he writes over the word dreamed 4 or 5 times because he's so fixated on it. And to hold that in your hands is really inspiring.
So cool.
I'm sure it is. Your work is being turned into a documentary.
Oh, it's so exciting because this message really needs to be broadcast to a larger audience. And so we have a fantastic team. Rebecca Cerise is really helping me with the project. She has done the story of the Greensboro sit-ins in February 1 and also told the story of Elizabeth Spencer and Landscapes of the Heart. We have Cash Michaels who's helping us, who's done the story of the Wilmington 10, Pardons of Innocence, but we have some fantastic humanities scholars as well. Henry Louis Gates is on board with this, William Ferris, and also Marco Williams, a terrific documentary filmmaker who's done things that include Banished, The Undocumented, and also Two Towns of Jasper.
Those are some heavy hitters.
Okay.
And it was fun interviewing Andrew Young a couple weeks ago.
Gosh.
What an education.
Yes. I am fascinated by you. Just tell everybody where they can see you at these 2 events real quick.
So tonight, NC State campus, Hunt Library Auditorium, 7 o'clock, free and open to the public. If you can't make that, Quail Ridge Books, February 19th, 7 p.m.
Thank you so much.
Thank you both.